yeoman's work in that regard and several months of trying very hard. We're 84% of the way there at the last count that I had, which was December 13th. But they have come forward with a suggestion and a proposal for some alternatives to beach nourishment financing from the directions that we've been pursuing. The first part of that is using the occupancy tax. The town of Nags Head receives $1.8 million in occupancy tax on an annual basis. We use that in our general fund, and it goes to support all the activities of the town. What this group proposed, and what I think a majority of our commissioners are interested in discussing, is separating that money out and using it, identifying it as a source for our beach nourishment financing.
Cost of the original project, because you wouldn't have lost that much. In fact, I think I remember something you said, maybe it would cost $10 million. Okay.
Even the biggest hurricanes are not going to completely remove 4 million cubic yards from Nags Head in one storm. It's a physical impossibility. Contrary to what you may have read in the popular press, it just doesn't work that way. Typically what happens is you lose sand from the back beach, it goes into the surf zone in the outer bar, and then it works its way back up onto the beach. And what FEMA is going to reimburse us for is the net loss due to the storm. Now,
basically what it comes down to is that for whatever reason you were in default, the lender would come get the revenues from special obligations. That's what you've obligated. You can continue the special assessment process and use those revenues, and you can use any source of revenue that you may come across now in the time of the payment. But again, you're obligated to occupancy tax.
I have the sand on the beach, and the desire to own property beachfront reoccurs, and your land transfer taxes pick up considerably over and beyond what you used to, as the portion that you use yearly for the budget.
Correct.
Then you could also take that money, if you wanted to take that money and pay. You can pay it from any source,
Right.
as long as you pay.
Right. The debt service change during the time the special obligations are outstanding. The answer is yes, because the revenues pledged under the bond documents does not have to be separated and used only to pay debt service. Any source of revenue directed by the town annually to pay the debt service can be used. So you can change year to year. As revenues go up year to year, you can change.
One of the things that I've been observing over the past few months is that, and one of the reasons I'm supporting going ahead and moving forward, is that the rating agencies are taking a long, hard look at the financial crisis in many of the states, and before they start downgrading all sorts of government debt, we need to move forward and get a better rate for all government debt. There's one analyst out there that's advertising that all government debt should be junk bond status, and I don't believe that we're in that position. I think we're very strong financially, and I think before they start snowballing, as Wall Street has a tendency to do, we need to take advantage of the situation now. As we discussed that, Mayor, I'd like to put a cap on the length of the easement. I think the word in perpetuity creates a lot of heartburn among people, John. And I'd like to have the easements to have like a 10-year cap on it rather than in perpetuity, because as people look at buying property, they look at a long-term easement as to what they would be responsible for. And I think everybody that's going to give an easement would be much more comfortable if they had a finite time period on that easement.
Good job on controlling and reducing expenses. There's certainly always more to get there, but you get to a point where you're starting to cut muscle instead of fat. A special tax district, I think, would give us an opportunity to charge a premium in South Nags Head, and might address some of the fairness concerns that we've heard from some folks.
All of us in town, all of us, west side, east side, whatever you are, have benefited tremendously through the years. I have never paid any occupancy tax in Nags Head, don't intend to, because I live here. And it's the, well, I hate the word fair because that word's been used so much, but it is fair that you take a revenue stream that the beach itself brings in to use to put it back.
Engineering papers that you think this project that you're going to do in Nags Head is going to last from 10 to 12 to 15 years. How many years do you think it'll be? I mean, I know you can't give me a concrete answer before we have to start doing maintenance. You know where we live. We're in the most vulnerable place on the east coast of the United States.
Sure. Well,
I've advocated before using occupancy tax. I think it's a visitor-generated revenue. It's not a taxpayer-generated revenue, unless you go to a motel for some evening. Or unless you entertained your family at Christmas in a beachfront house or something. But it's a revenue stream that gives us a fixed amount. It hasn't varied much over the past 10 years. It's been a constant stream of revenue. Unlike land transfer tax, which brought in to us over $1 million at one point a year, as our share is down to around $250,000, $300,000, if that, maybe $400,000. But the occupancy tax has stayed fairly constant, so it's a number that we can work with.
I've got to agree with Renee on using the direction we're going about with the land transfer. I think it's, well, I don't have any problem with it. I think it's the only fair way to do it. I've never stumbled over my position, you know, about getting it done. Town of Nags Head financially is in excellent shape, and I think we have the ability to get this project underway with the least amount of impact on people.
Engineering papers that you think this project that you're going to do in Nags Head is going to last from 10 to 12 to 15 years. How many years do you think it'll be? I mean, I know you can't give me a concrete answer before we have to start doing maintenance. You know where we live. We're in the most vulnerable place on the east coast of the United States.
sure. Well, in terms of the way we would define it is you will have more sand on the beach 10 years from now than you had before the project. Now, that's not to say you won't have some erosion hot spots. For example, at the south end of the beach, if those 25 houses are not removed from the beach, I can almost guarantee you that some of those houses will be sitting in the surf because they're already 150 feet seaward of where the natural escarpment is. So immediately we have 150 feet that we have to make up. So if we could take all those houses away, then you could look at a better longevity at the south end of Nags Head. But defined by how much sand is left on the beach 10 years from now, we base it on the average erosion rate. We've been losing somewhere between 150 to 275,000 cubic yards per year from one end of Nags Head to the other, measured out into deep water. The law of averages should hold for a project of this scale and scope using the kind of sand that we're proposing to put in. But let's say we're wrong and we start losing 300,000 cubic yards per year on average over the next 10 years. Well, that means after 10 years we lose 3 million cubic yards, right? If we place 4 million cubic yards on the beach because we can buy that much sand, we have the budget for it, the bids come out favorably, well, theoretically, we still have 1 million extra yards on the sand above and beyond where we were on day one. Whether or not that's all at the north end or all in the central part or some is still on the south end, we can't say for